Town Square Media. Take action and go to townsquaresouthjersey.com to request information on their customer appreciation sale. That's townsquaresouthjersey.com.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennick.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio. Here's Josh Hennick.
Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN. We are back after not being on the radio yesterday due to the MLB playoffs doubleheader. Of course, we will have Mets and Brewers game 2 for you tonight coming up at 7 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you guys join the conversation on the Eagles, Phillies, and more at 609-403-0973. Also, your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. All right, got a jam-packed show coming up at 6:15 is going to be Dave Weinberg for a Weinberg Wednesday, and then Andy McNamara will join us coming up at 6:40 tonight. So let's get into the latest with, this Eagles conversation has really been swinging in 20 different ways. And I've been really thinking about who is to blame, what is at fault, what is going on with this team. And I think the one comment that I have heard so far throughout the day, as we've played some audio on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN, that has stood out to me the most was this comment from Jeff Saturday on Get Up. And, when it comes to sports, I think that sometimes we try to treat sports like it's different than the real world. We try to treat sports like it's different than everyone and everything else. And that's traditionally unfair. It's traditionally unfair for us to treat these athletes like they're not human beings. So when Jeff Saturday says this on Get Up this morning, I tend to pause for a moment because I think that we need to not listen to this as sports fans, but try to listen to this comment as if it was coming from someone who worked at your job or worked at my job or worked at, a law firm or somebody who works at any type of corporate structure, right? Because when you hear the term leadership, we all tend to take that concept and project it into our own experience as people who have participated in sports or been around sports. If you're someone who played sports, let's say in high school, or you're somebody who was involved in sports with your kids or something, we all have a perception of what leadership means. But I think that we forget these are professional athletes who are getting paid to do a job when it comes to playing the game. Here is former Pro Bowl center with the Indianapolis Colts, Jeff Saturday.
That is 100% a coach issue because you have to get your players to buy in to the vision that you're, as the coach, placing out in front of them. And then it's incumbent on your leaders to go take that vision and make it culture in your locker room. Right now, that is not happening. And when you saw what Jalen Hurts said post-game, we have our moments. That's your leader and your leader not meeting. That's a problem.
So here's the interesting part of it. He talks about how this is a leadership issue and how the leaders of this team are not doing their job. And if you go to your job, right, your manager, your immediate supervisor, the manager above that person, right? Think of football as a bit of a corporate hierarchy. If the people above you at your job, you lack faith in them, you lack belief in them, you lack trust in them at doing their job, isn't there going to be a part of you that is lacking motivation to do your job. And I mean that in all seriousness. If you are somebody who, think about it, your job requires you to be there full time, and you're putting in the hours and you're doing everything asked of you. And let's say there are other people around you who might not be doing their job. And because they're not doing their job, their lack of competency is pulling down the overall productivity of the team. And so then your boss or bosses come into the meeting room and try to say, hey, we need everybody to pick up their work. We need everybody to do a better job. We're gonna double our efforts in attacking this task, right? And you're looking around and you're saying, I'm doing my job, but they're not doing their job. It's like the scene from The Departed, right? I'm the guy, I'm doing my job. You're the guy, you're the other guy, right? So when you think about what's going on with Philadelphia right now, in many ways, the problem in Philadelphia has less to do with people doing their job. Because in the most literal sense, guys can say, I'm doing my job. Jordan Mailata can say, hey, I didn't let through all those sacks. I didn't let through all those hits. I'm doing my job. All right. Well, now we turn it around. So now it's the job of the people who are in leadership to get everyone on the same page. And if Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni are not on the same page, that's a problem. These are two of your leaders. And Darius Slay on the Big Play Slay podcast, he talked about the leadership. He's a team captain, right? He needs to be involved in some of these conversations. Well, this is what he said about the leadership on the Eagles.
I leave the serious stuff to Hurts. I yell all the yelling stuff to, back in the time, was Kelsey. Kelsey do a lot of yelling at time. I used to let Flex do all the yelling. I'm more of a guy that's kind of like very understanding. I try to lead by example by just working hard, doing the best of my ability to let me do what I need to do to be prepared for the game. But my leadership skills are way different from everybody else. I'm still blessed enough and thankful enough to be a captain on this team.
So is that part of the problem? Is part of the problem with the Eagles that you already have a leadership issue, right? You have a disconnect between the head coach and the quarterback. And then you have one of the team captains say, yeah, I leave the serious stuff to Jalen Hurts. I'm not a yeller like Kelsey and Fletcher are. Well, my question is that part of the problem? Is part of the problem with this team the wrong people are in leadership positions? Did this team not build a good enough roster to have the right men leading this team to success? It's hard to be a championship organization and put out a championship effort if the people who are supposed to be leading the way are maybe not the right people. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm not saying that's literally the problem here, but I'm just asking the question. More from Jeff Saturday this morning on Get Up on the Eagles' leadership issues.
Players don't play their best when this is the issue. Like Jalen Hurts isn't playing his best because it's all the distraction around you that takes your attention away from the details of being productive. And whether we like it or not, when leadership fails, it's filled by something else. Right now, it's distraction. That's why they're not playing well.
And just like at your job, if you are at your job and the people around you are all stressed, you're stressed, everyone is stressed, everyone is trying to meet the deadline, everyone's trying to get the project done in time, everyone is trying to complete all the tasks by a certain deadline. And if you're the person trying to do all that and your leadership is not putting you in the best position to get that job done, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And we'll ask Dave Weinberg coming up here on 97.3 ESPN. Are the right men leading this team and this organization? I'm starting to wonder if that answer is no. 609-403-0973 is the text board. We'll also take your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. I'm Josh Henning live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small.
Can't wake up without it.
Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Hey, I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop.
Welcome in.
So this isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping it all connected. That is, if it can handle the pressure.
Next in line, please.
So is it possible to get business internet you can really count on? It is. With 99.9% network reliability from Comcast Business. It's like this neat little bow.
Do you like that gift wrap?
Really ties it all together. Reliable internet for your business. It's not just possible. It's happening. Comcast Business. Powering possibilities.
Switch to Comcast Business and get started with fast, reliable internet for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Or ask about our 5-year price lock guarantee on qualifying internet bundles. Don't wait. Call or go online today. Ends 12/22/24. Restrictions apply. EcoBill and autopay required. New 150 megabits per second internet customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. Major League Baseball, the Mets defeated the Milwaukee Brewers by an 8-4 score. They'll continue that wild card series tonight. It'll be Frankie Montas going for Milwaukee. Well, the Mets will go with Sean Manaea, a win away from making it to the NLDS. That's where the Phillies are waiting to see who they'll play coming out of the wild card round of the National League. Phillies a 2 seed, finishing second behind the LA Dodgers in the standings. The Flyers will play their final preseason game on Thursday night, hosting the New Jersey Devils. Philadelphia losing Tuesday night in Boston to the Bruins 4-1. They'll be on the road to open up the regular season next week on October 11th against the Vancouver Canucks. And the Philadelphia Eagles are in their bye week, sitting at 2-2. They return October 13th when they host the Cleveland Browns. The Eagles coming off a loss to Tampa Bay, a game in which they played without wide receivers A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Tune in to the Bet365 Play of the Day during the Sports Bash with me, Mike Gill, every weekday afternoon at 5:45 on 97.3 ESPN. Made possible by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. We're about to fall into some beautiful early autumn weather with warming temperatures and lots of sunshine heading into the weekend. There is a chance of a sprinkle this evening, then clearing skies and cool temperatures overnight, low of 58. Beautiful tomorrow, mostly sunny, dry, and mild, high 73. Friday, we go from sun to clouds with a high of 76. We'll still be in the 70s through the weekend. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at Provenza Restaurant and Event Center on Wellington Avenue in Ventnor for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check in with Biz from Avseekin and Dan and EHC in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Right now joining me, as he does each and every Wednesday, Dave Weinberg for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, welcome back in. How you doing today?
Doing well, Josh. What's your favorite watering hole as we speak?
Going in Northgate, May. For those who don't know, Dave goes down there for Quizzo every Wednesday. So
Sure do, yeah. Oh, before I get started, do you guys run remote on Fridays?
not every Friday.
No. There's a huge fan of the show. Her name is Kelly Schiffbauer and her husband Mark, and they are dying to see you guys in person. And they were trying to find out, when your locations are and when you guys go on the road.
I mean, I'm not on the road on any weekdays as of right now. So
okay.
I know Mike's out every Tuesday, it's every Monday at Ocean Casino and every Thursday at Chickies and Pete's.
Oh, okay. All right. I got you. All right. I'll let them know. Anyway, they're big fans of Weinberg Wednesday too.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. You'd be surprised how many people I run into who actually do listen to you come on each week. So,
oh, very nice. That's good to hear.
And part of the reason why I'm glad you're here to have this conversation, Dave Weinberg, is because you're someone who covered the Eagles through many different iterations of coaches and captaincies and players. And I've asked this question in the past, and I want to propose it to you because I know, Dave Weinberg, you're not going to give me a sugar-coated answer. You're not going to try to skirt the answer or be like a politician and try to, spin it 10 ways from Sunday. I want to know, did Howie Roseman not do a good enough job building this roster?
It certainly seems so, doesn't it? Like on paper, I think he did what he wanted to do. But too many executives, they take the on-field analytics and all that stuff and don't take into account intangibles like leadership and those kind of things, and that's where they're hurting right now. You and I have talked about this before. I mean, aside from say Brandon Graham and possibly Lane Johnson, I don't know that there's a guy that those younger guys can lean on or respect enough to pay attention when they have something to say. And if you don't have that in the locker room, then you're in deep trouble.
I'm glad you put it that way because I was thinking about when I've listened to former Eagle players like Chris Long and Jason Avant and other guys on different shows and podcasts, and they all talk about how every team with young players needs that veteran who literally or figuratively will like grab young guys and be like, dude, I need XYZ from you today. And they would have a guy, and like, I don't know if that guy is on this team, Dave. I don't think there is the type of veterans. This is one of the youngest rosters in the NFL. I think it's the 6th youngest roster overall in the NFL. To me, there's no veteran who just can walk around. And again, whether it's literally or figuratively, it doesn't matter. But it's the mentality of going to Jalen Carter, going to Cam Jurgens, going to fill in the blank younger player who's under the age of 30, who hasn't been in the league that long, and say, we need you today. And I feel like in these situations, you can't always expect the coaches to do that. At some point, the players got to police themselves. And I think the Eagles did their plethora of young players and their 20 guys from Georgia a disservice here.
I think Lane Johnson's that guy, but he's not. When you're not playing, it's tough for you to expect anything from anybody else, right? I mean, if you're missing games with concussions or what have you, then it's tough for you it's tough for them to listen to you and respect what you have to say. But I mean, he's been around. This is his 11th year, 12th year, maybe. And I know, 2013, I think was his rookie year. So
2013, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's the guy. Brandon Graham can, but Brandon's more of a like a lead by example kind of guy. I mean, he's kind of a rah-rah guy, but he's not a guy to get in your face, I don't think, and read you the riot act. Darius Slay is just, I think his act is kind of worn thin with these guys. I don't know if they listen to him as much as, I mean, I'm not in the locker room obviously, but I wonder whether he has that impact that some of those other guys do. They have the guys there, but you have to be accountable to yourself too. Like you have to be playing well as a veteran before you can expect anything from anybody else. You got to look inward before you look outward.
By the way, this is year 12 for Lane Johnson. See, you were right there. You're 1 year off, Dave.
Okay, gotcha.
Speaking of Slay, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'll play for you what Slay said about him being a team captain and a leader of this team. And I'm wondering if you're going to have the same reaction that I did, because when he said this, I was like, okay.
I leave the serious stuff to Hurts. I yell all the yelling stuff to, back in the time was Kels. Kels would do a lot of yelling at time. I used to let Flex do all the yelling. I'm more of a guy that's kind of like very understanding. I try to lead by example by just working hard, doing the best of my ability to let me do what I need to do to be prepared for the game. But my leadership skills are way different from everybody else. I'm still blessed enough and thankful enough to be a captain on this team.
I leave the serious stuff to Jalen, which in and of itself just sounds funny because I don't think Jalen's barely. I mean, of course, the serious stuff to the guy who barely smiles, right?
Right.
And it's like, oh well, Kelsey and Fletch, I let them do all the yelling. Like, well, okay, so what are you doing?
They're gone now. So what is your role? I mean, then from what I understand, didn't he he responded to the loss by posting his career stats on the X platform before deleting them? And
I will say that I played the audio earlier, and I won't waste your time playing it now, but he did go on a whole long thing where he said he was stupid, he was an idiot for posting that, and that was a bad job by him, and he let people get under his skin. He went on a whole diatribe about that. So,
well, that's what a 25-year-old guy does, not a veteran. I mean, a veteran doesn't let that stuff bother them. Younger guys see that, and then they start to get affected by it too. It's you got to be more. You got to be more of a leader. Maybe he has a different style. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, he better bring it out this week.
Well, it goes back to the question I asked you before. Howie Roseman put this roster together. He put the roster together without having that. And I'm not saying you literally need these guys, but Chris Long, Malcolm Jenkins, Jeremiah Trotter, Brian Dawkins, none of those type of guys in that locker room. And you said Lane Johnson, but that's one guy, people forget, Dave, how important Malcolm's speech was after Wentz got injured, right? When Wentz got injured versus the Rams in 2017, it was Malcolm who basically, grabbed everybody, verbally and said, we got to get our heads out of the sand and we still got a chance to win this thing.
Right. The problem is you have to be able to pick and choose your moments with those. If you keep ranting and raving every week, then the message gets lost and people stop tuning into you. You have to know the right place and time to deliver that kind of thing. And Malcolm did. This is the time when someone has to do it now for them. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's clearly this team's in turmoil and struggling to stay, keep their heads above water here. They have a bye week to figure everything out. So hopefully somebody can get the message through that, the season's still not over, but we really better get our heads out of our butts if we're going to make something of this.
Dave Weinberg joining us here on 97.3 ESPN Extra Point Columns at 97.3ESPN.com. He joins me every Wednesday for a Weinberg Wednesday here with me, Josh Hennig. I'm in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. Dave Weinberg is sitting outside Gusto Brewing in North Cape May. Dave, when you mentioned about how, the things are in turmoil, it's in flux. Yes. And I can't not think about the fact that I know everyone wants to point the finger at Nick Sirianni. And you and I have both been honest how we weren't fans of the idea of them getting rid of Doug Peterson. But at the same time, I feel like Nick Sirianni is in a no-win situation because of one issue. You took the play calling and offense responsibilities away from him. You gave him the Kellen Moore. And frankly, Kellen Moore, aside from the Packers game, hasn't done much. And I know we haven't had A.J. Brown for 3 weeks, and you didn't have Devontae Smith on Sunday. But at some point, it's like if you're such a great offensive coordinator, right? If you're so smart, don't you build a game plan to kind of cover up your weaknesses, not try to make guys do what the other guys are best at?
Yeah, in theory, yes, you do. And I think Nick kind of hinted at the fact that he does have some sort of hand in the play calling, especially with those stupid fourth down decisions. I don't know. He took the blame or credit depending on your viewpoint of it.
Sirianni always takes the bullets for everyone. He's like
Right.
the Brett Brown of the Eagles. He goes out there, takes all the bullets for everybody, so no one else has to take any accountability but himself.
Right. And in that instance, though, I think it looks like his thumbprint is on those kind of things. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that's the kind of thing that Kellen Moore would do on his own. So, but I don't know what the answer is. I mean, Vic Fangio obviously runs the defense, and he can't step in and really do much there. But offensively, like, you're going to get their guys back. So now I think maybe Sirianni has to consider either to take. He can't possibly take the play calling back away from Kellen. I mean,
No.
Kellen's got vast experience, but maybe be more of an influence there. And like, excuse me, you see it out in Jacksonville with, Press Taylor getting all the heat with the Jaguars, and Doug was telling people that Press is the guy who calls the plays, and maybe Doug's going to have a bigger hand. And yeah, so I think Nick's got to probably sit in a few more meetings and maybe have a bigger hand in the game plan for the offense.
It's funny you mentioned Doug because I made this comment earlier. It's like, what's the reason why why Doug isn't here anymore? It's Press Taylor, right? Jeffrey Lurie said, get rid of Press Taylor. Doug said no. And Jeffrey says, you're gone. Now the Press Taylor thing pops up in Jacksonville again. It's like a parent who has a blind spot for their kid, right? It's like,
that's true.
The parent's like, not my Jimmy, not my Joey, kind of thing. It's like,
Not my Press, right?
no, Press isn't the problem. It's like, no, Press might be the problem, Doug. Poor Doug.
Yeah. Well, well, as far as the Eagles are concerned, though, I mean, I think the defense is just as big of a problem as the offense. And Vic, I don't know what his he's in the press box, right, for games.
Yeah, he watches down. Yeah, he likes to be apparently upstairs to see the full field.
Okay, well, what he's seeing isn't looking good. I mean, Jalen Carter was supposed to dominate on Sunday against this mediocre Tampa Bay offensive line, the interior, and he was invisible, as was Jordan Davis. And I don't want to hear about the Heat because the other team played the same thing. So I'm afraid it's a kind of a repeat of last year where he had some really good games, but then as it went on, he kind of wore out and wore down, and he's got to get in better shape, bottom line.
Well, the Fangio thing is interesting because Fangio said that they didn't expect the Bucs to come out with that quick passing game. And it's like, Vic,
how could you not?
Vic, you're like 72 years old. Like, you've seen more football than half the fans have. Like, if you should have predicted that was coming with all the injuries they have.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes no sense at all. I don't get it.
And then that's why I'm saying, like, I'm having trouble figuring out who to blame because, the fans.
They're all to blame.
Well, right. It's like Jason Kelce. It's the whole team, right?
Right. But ultimately, Nick is the guy, right? I mean, he's the one that is out in the forefront. He's the head coach. He's the CEO, so to speak. So I guess it ultimately does fall on him. I know he maybe gets some unfair criticism, but I don't see it that way. I think he deserves all the criticism he's getting.
Yeah, see, my thing is, I don't mind, and I was trying to explain to somebody on Sunday, Dave, that I'm not afraid to blame a coach. I'm not afraid to point it out, but it's like, I need it to be objective. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I can't buy into the dude at the bar watching the game and says, my gut tells me, like,
yeah, right.
All right. I can't work with that.
Your gut tells you need another beer, right?
right. Exactly. But it's like, I can't work with that. Like I need, to me, if you told me that Nick Sirianni, his antics, right? Or like maybe the guys are worn out with him, or they're tired of his whatever. You know, if you want to tell me that Jalen Hurts and him have a disconnect, like if you want to tell me those things, I can work with that, Dave.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. And all those things probably are true. But I'm with you though. The overreaction to things, which you know, having worked with Philly media, you know how the fans are. But I mean, there's no way he gets fired during the bye week, you know, after 4 games. I don't think.
No, he won't. I don't think he's getting fired because they're 2-2. If they were 0-4, maybe.
Maybe, right. The division's still up for grabs. I mean, the Commanders are looking good, but it's still only a 1-game lead, and there's a long season ahead. So, they're good. Lurie and Roseman they're not the type to make these kind of rash overhauls of coaching staffs and things. So, he'll at least get the year, I think, and then they'll make the decision from there.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only person Lurie is fired before the end of the season was Chip Kelly, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Correct.
Rhodes was after the season, Andy was after the season, Doug was after the season.
Kotite was after season. Yep.
Kotite, right? Oh, even Kotite got the leash. he even given the courtesy, because I remember the story being that Jeffrey Lurie was telling people at the Eagles Christmas party, "I want my team back," you know, and that was. The players were so mad at Chip, and Chip wouldn't show up to the Christmas party. And
Chip,
Chip apparently was too busy preparing for the next game that the owner said, "I've had enough," and said, "I want my team back," and that's why they fired him. So I mean, I guess as long as Sirianni shows up to the Christmas party, he'll last the year. I know I say that in a really flippant way, but I just, Dave, you've seen this team over the years, you know. I just sometimes feel like the owner of this team, him and Howie Roseman, we give them the benefit of the doubt because they've had success. And, you know, they have made some good decisions at times. But I'm not going to act like every decision they ever make is the best one, you know?
No, it's not. You're right. Yeah, they make mistakes like everybody else. Yeah, they have to be held accountable. I mean, there's been times like Roseman got banished to the back of the link on back of the NovaCare complex for a couple of years when Chip came in because of some of the moves that he made or lack thereof. So yeah, it's everybody's accountable here, and everybody's going to be taking their share of the blame, and they just got to find a way to buckle up and figure out what's wrong on the field and in the locker room and try and make something out of the season before it's too late.
Well, I know you got to take your share of the success down there at trivia, so I'll let you get to trivia, Dave Weinberg, down there at Gusto Brewing in North Cape May. Tell Zach and the guys down there I said hello, all right?
I absolutely will. Yeah, he actually told me to tell you hello before I came out here. So.
That's great. Dave, always appreciate you jumping on. Check out his Extra Point column, his latest on the Eagles at the bye week at 97.3 ESPN.com. And Dave Weinberg joins me each and every Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, enjoy trivia. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it as always. I'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Absolutely. Josh Hennick here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, the Fanatics Sportsbook is now at Ocean Casino's Gallery Bar booking games. Go to Ocean, go to the Gallery, go for the win. For more information, visit the oceanac.com. More football talk coming up next as well. Check out your text messages. By the way, let's actually, I'm going to text right now at 609-403-0973 because we do have a moment before I can hit the break here before we get to Andy McNamara joining us coming up in about 7 minutes from now. Biz from Absecon says, I've been coaching at the high school level for 16 years. As a coach, you may have to groom your leaders and show them how to lead. Tell them what they need to say to bring the team to where it needs to be. So what I'm trying to say is the coaching staff, i.e. Nick Sirianni, needs to lead his leaders. And I think that is a great point by Biz because, Biz and Absecon, one of the issues with Doug Peterson when he was here was there were reports that Doug was not a good coach of his coaches, that, Doug was not great at empowering his coaches to be better leaders, better coaches themselves. So now we get with Sirianni. Sirianni may be liked by the ownership and liked by the GM, but if he's not putting himself in a position to help the coaches and the players become better leaders and better versions of themselves, then, well, it gets back to the what does Sirianni do question. Dan from EHT chimes in and says, more than anything, Fangio and Mord need time to get things rolling. I think patience is a lost art in sports. They have talent. I think what Sirianni wants from Hurts, leadership, bottom line, is your quarterback has to be the guy. Remember, Kelsey recently brought up the conflict with him and Hurts. Yeah, and the thing with Kelsey is that, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I do think that there is a huge problem when Jason spent so much of the offseason talking up the Eagles, and now the season is ongoing. He's not talking them up as much, and I think it's a problem because many of us came into the season being told by Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and big play Darius Slay and all these different players, Brandon Graham. We were told by these guys that things would be different. The season is going to be great and on and on and on. And now we're in the season. Where are they? Where's the feedback? The only guy who's doing it is Darius Slay on his podcast. And even Mike Gill said an hour ago on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN, is it maybe too little too late? Like, why didn't you do it during the game? Why couldn't you figure this out in the moment, in the game, before the game? And I think that's the problem moving forward. All right, we'll check back the text board a little bit later in the hour, 609-403-0973. But coming up next, Andy McNamara joins me for more NFL talk as we finish up. We close the book on week 4 and look forward to week 5 in the NFL. I'm Josh Hennig, live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN.
Wildcard Wednesday on ESPN Radio.
And the Mets have scored 5 runs in the 5th. They now lead the Brewers 8-4. This entire rally has happened with 2 outs.
The Mets win Game 1 and have their sights set on a 2-game sweep. Can the Brewers bounce back and force a decisive Game 3? Game 2 of the Mets and Brewers. Coverage begins today at 7 Eastern, with first pitch at 7:30 Eastern.
It's Brewers Mets playoff baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
The best call to make on game day is ordering catering from the Piccalilli Inn. For parties big or small, the Pick does it all. Your guests will be cheering for the Pick spin on football favorites like pulled pork nachos, cheesesteaks, burgers, and their award-winning buffalo wings, tails, and ears. Get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock and follow the Pick on Facebook or at Piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you've got an oil change coming up. You can go farther and save on full synthetic with our oil change special. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Advanced Full Synthetic with an STP Extended Life oil filter for just $35.99. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you could get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare, and that is MediShare. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare, and that's huge. But it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. That's because MediShare works. It has for more than 30 years. It's a community of Christians who have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth. They love the huge PPO network. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE, 855-51-BIBLE.
October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. As the leader in identity theft protection, LifeLock reminds you to update your passwords. Using the same password across multiple accounts makes you vulnerable to cyber criminals. Updating your passwords is only one way to help protect yourself. For comprehensive identity theft protection, you need LifeLock. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes issues that arise. Start protecting your identity today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. We find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use, at Provenza Restaurant and Event Center on Wellington Avenue in Ventnor for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at SeizeTheDeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to SeizeTheDeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennick on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
As promised, joining us right now, Andy McNamara is here to close the book on NFL Week 4 and start looking ahead to NFL Week 5 here on 97.3 ESPN. Andy, my friend, welcome back in. Appreciate you bumping from a Tuesday to a Wednesday. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, buddy. Happy to, come off the bench when needed, brother. We're here.
So, what's interesting right now is that, when the Eagles come back from the bye week, they will play your Browns. And, it is a very interesting situation because here in Philadelphia, there's a little bit of turmoil, man. People are like, Sirianni and Hurts's relationship. The defense didn't do their job. Darius Slay coming out and saying, don't blame Hurts, blame the defense for the loss on Sunday. Vic Fangio saying that we didn't expect the fast passing game from the Bucs. Nick Sirianni saying that, doing the whole, I got to do a better job speech, So it's like there's a mess going on over here in Philadelphia right now. Of course, we got 2 weeks to simmer on it. Meanwhile, it's not like things are much better for you over in Cleveland.
Boy, man, are Kevin Stefanski and Nick Sirianni just exchanging notes on how to piss off the fan base? I got to do better. Then do better. Okay. Whenever you get I have to do better 2 weeks in a row, I want to strangle the coach. It's like, stop it. Just say nothing. Say less. Or just come up with some other cliche. I have to do better sucks. I guess the positives for Philly was like Darius Slay had his quarterbacks back. I would be a bit nervous that Vic Fangio, who's seemingly been around for a century, was surprised by anything. That's a bit concerning. And for the Browns, Josh, we can't score 20 points. The Browns have not scored 20 points, and their offense is fourth in the NFL at $174 million. And I'm wondering, I interviewed on my show a Buffalo Bills sideline reporter to ask him, okay, the Ken Dorsey offense that was in Buffalo, what am I missing? Because for a while it was good. Before it went bad, it was good. In Cleveland, it's some hodgepodge mess. Kevin Stefanski's calling someone else's offense and then not calling it, and it's a disaster. So we're playing Washington, which, Josh, was supposed to be a, quote, easy game at the beginning. And Jane Daniels looks like he's definitely going to be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, you and I called that 2 months ago.
We sure did.
But back to what you said about, it's interesting because you mentioned about how frustrating these coaches are. Do players and coaches truly understand what this means to these football teams? Do they understand that, Mike Gill mentioned this about an hour and a half ago earlier on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. The question of, do the players and coaches really understand that the fans live and die with these teams. You know, there is an emotional attachment that comes with these teams that exists somewhere between, you know, this is my alma mater and religion. Like it exists somewhere between the two.
You're true.
And it's almost like the players and coaches don't comprehend that, because for many of them, yeah, they love football, blah, 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 but it's also a job.
Yeah. It's also a job. They're also getting millions of bucks. And what drives me nuts, and I'm sure the listeners will agree with me with this, whenever you hear a player, coach, whatever, say, oh, there's more to life than just football. Like, I want to punch you in the face when you say that. There's more to life than football. I know, jerk. I understand that. Like, what that does is it belittles the fan base who pays your salary and the passion they give to come out and cheer for you and the right to boo. Oh, there's more to life than football. Shut up. More to life than football. I know, man. But guess what? Football's the escape. Football's what we are passionate about. You have to go to your job. Civilians have to go to the job every day doing whatever, and you get your passion. You get your Sunday afternoon. You get your few hours. And to have a player say something like that, or I got to do a better job, and to seemingly the not caring, I'd rather have a player freak out or just take responsibility or something. Because if you don't understand what the fan base is, look, the NFL is not going anywhere, and these players are only going to be paid more. We know that. But that's just such a slap in the face, and to anybody who says that and doesn't get it. I know nobody specifically did, but that just grinds my gears, John.
Well, no, and no one has specifically said it. Andy McNamara joining us, the host of the Sick Podcast. He is sick on the Sick Podcast each week on the all your podcasting platforms, along as well YouTube at Andy MC81 on the Twitter X platform. So let's dig deep in this, because we'll get more into Eagles Browns specifically next week. When you look at right now the state of the NFC East, right? Technically, right now the Commanders are the best team in the division, technically.
Right.
But there are a lot of people who say, well, when the Eagles come out of their bye week, they should win 3 of those 4 games, right? People look at the Commanders and are saying at some point, someone is going to come up with a formula to slow down Cliff Kingsbury's offense, right? You know, at some point, you know, the Cowboys are going to keep losing because they're going to be without potentially Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence for multiple weeks. And I feel like Trevon Diggs gets injured every week now. Like, I don't know what's going on with that guy.
Brandon Cooks is out too.
And yeah, Brandon Cooks. I forgot about him. And by the way, Devontae Adams does not want to be traded to the Cowboys. So with all that being said, and no, the Giants are not for real. So of the 3 teams I just mentioned, for you, how do you delineate with those 3 in the NFC East?
Yeah, I still have to believe, and the Commanders are a shocking story. And let's face it, we're fans of specific teams, but the NFL is more fun when you have more great and exciting quarterbacks. The worst is when you have stinking quarterbacks. Yeah, it's terrible.
Will Levis.
Yeah. You want excitement, you want stars, right? So the Commanders are fantastic, but let's face it. The offense is doing really well. That defense is still bad. That is not a good defense. So they're going to have to be scoring 30 to 40 points to compensate for that, which is why I don't think they're for real to win the division. Now, if we keep having the Eagles and Cowboys implode on themselves, could they backdoor their way to a division title? I suppose, right? But you'd have to think. I still have more confidence that the Eagles can get it sorted with the changes they made, with the personnel. We cannot discount that you were without A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Come on, man. Those are 2 superstars. You can't just go, now, do you have to figure out and game plan ways to win? Sure. And the defense has to step up. You can't be letting 30-plus points to the Buccaneers. But you did. So now you got to sort it out, and you got to come out hot, because if the Commanders just, they keep grinding away and all of a sudden they get a little hot and you look up and they're 6-2 week 8, then you might have yourself a little problem.
Now let's flip it to the AFC North, where that's another mess, right? Because the Bengals have suddenly figured out how to play football again, although it was the Panthers that they beat.
Yeah.
The Browns, I don't even know what your team is at this point. I mean, let's be real.
They have no identity.
Exactly. The Eagles have no identity. The Browns have no identity.
And they're so tied together, which isn't that fascinating? They're so like synergy, like the Andrew Berry coming from Philly, and they're both the same analytical mindsets and stuff. And it's so interesting that both are in this no man's land. The Browns so more. Like you guys get AJ Brown and Devonta Smith back. I think you could still get cooking, and you still have a franchise quarterback. I don't know what the heck I have. I don't know what I got. I got a guy.
I don't know what you got.
Josh, this is what I hear. Oh, he made incremental improvements. He got a little bit better. A little bit better? What? This is year 3 of the contract. I don't have 3 first-round picks. I see a slow old team because we had to hire veterans because of Deshaun Watson. We gave up so much. And incrementally better? I'm better off with a rookie who's flashing up and down and going over than
Or
Deshaun
Justin
Watson.
Fields.
Or Justin Fields, sure. Like, the thing is, I said on my show, and I think it rings true. Right now, and Deshaun Watson has shown improvement to what and Amari Cooper's his head's in the clouds. I don't know what he's doing, dropping balls and penalties.
I warned you about that, didn't I?
Well, yeah, sure you did. But I said on my show, Deshaun Watson is not the reason the Cleveland Browns are losing football games. He's also not the reason you're winning them. And Josh, in the last 2 games, there were 3 drives in the fourth quarter where he had a chance to win the game. And you can say there's penalties and drops, and that's all true. But if you have 3 shots in 2 straight games and you don't do it, you're not a franchise quarterback. Franchise quarterbacks win those games if you have 3 chances. I don't care what the situation is.
And then you got the Steelers and the Ravens. The Ravens, they're kind of finding their way out of the wilderness right now with Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, basically, if you just keep handing the ball to Derrick Henry till he falls apart, you're probably going to win some games moving forward because Mark Andrews is nothing of what he used to be. He is a shell of himself.
What a all part of the fantasy football tight end conundrum. Nobody's producing. All the tight Dallas Goedert's the best damn fantasy tight end.
Which is insane to say that, because if you would have came into this year and said that to anyone, they would have laughed you out of the room. They'd just been like, "You're nuts.
Get out of here." Yeah. All the tight ends stink in fantasy football.
And then you have the Steelers, which are basically all defense and no offense. Basically,
they're so boring. They are just but guess what? The buggers are 3-1, aren't they? They find a way to win games.
No, Andy. They're more than 3-1. They are 4-0 hitting the under this year. They are a lock for the under this year, man. People can make some money with those guys. I am 4-0, buddy. I have picked them with an under every single week, and I am 4-0 picking the Steelers under. That's the important stat.
44.5 hosting the Cowboys. I think we go under again.
Oh, that's under, man. Come on. Is that game in Pittsburgh?
It's in Pittsburgh, and the Steelers are favored by 2.5.
That's a done deal.
I think under. That's money.
Hold on. I gotta find the sounder. Talk for a second, please.
Yeah, I think that's absolute money. 44.5.
Andy,
Cowboys coming in.
Andy, I found it. That's a
Stone Cold Lock of the Century.
Oh yeah.
We're pulling Team Aquaforce out on a Wednesday instead of a Friday.
I think you're right there. I'm surprised the Steelers are still favorites. Justin Fields, fantasy wise, I picked them up. You have to be really good and benefit my fantasy team for me to pick you up if you're a Steeler or a Raven. And I just with buys and how quarterback situations were in a couple of my fantasy leagues, I couldn't say no to Justin Fields. The guy's using his legs. He's making plays. The offense still isn't good, but the defense is doing enough to win. I'm with you. I'm putting some coin on that under 44.5. Yeah.
Stone Cold Lock of the Century.
The most random drop I use. It really is.
That's phenomenal. That is classic talk radio drop. Oh yeah.
You know where that's from, right?
What'd you say? Aquaforce?
Well, so Team Aquaforce used to have this guy on the show, and they used the character on SVP's Sports Center years ago.
Oh, okay. So you know what? So in Canada, like I don't get like the proper Sports Center. Like I get like
you get the Jay. What's his name? Jay. What's his last name?
Jay Onrait.
Jay Onrait. He does like the for those in America who don't know, it's like the bastardized Sports Center.
Yeah, it's TSN and ESPN have a working relationship, so it's the same Sports Center. Like I'm not sure the exact relationship, but there is ties in, and they play some of the radio stuff, whatever. So we have our version of a much less good Sports Center.
Well, it's actually not horrible, but it's just a different style because it's like it'll be like Jay like sitting by himself in a studio, like on a couch. like talking about highlights. and
Well,
doing
like
interviews.
Jay's show isn't bad. Now they have like the loop, the old like then those things. Those are just like where it's just like the highlight and people reading off a cue. There's no personality anymore. I hope my Canadian people, because I know people who do it, but it's not good. I'm sorry. You know, I feel safe being on a Jersey ESPN station to say that. You can post it. I'm not entertained by it. You know, it doesn't mean they're bad people. I just don't like it.
It's the opposite of Gladiator. You are not entertained.
I'm not entertained. That's what it is. But yeah.
At Andy MC81 on the Twitter X platform. Andy, what do you have going on with the Sick Pod this week?
Let's not end with me burying the. We're taking the under on the Steelers Cowboy game. Lock of the week. Let's go. Yeah, we got Sunday live, 10 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, on Twitter, on X at Sick Pod Brown, Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, live 10 a.m. Eastern. Jump in the chat room, get your fantasy football questions as we answer it live. We go through all the injury updates, everything starts, sits. We have our parlay party, our bets of the week. That Cowboy Steeler under is going to be on that one. We go over the Browns game preview as well and get ready for it. And if you're looking for some fantasy waiver wire pickups now, Tuesday's show is up on those same wherever you get your podcast, Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. Get some waiver ads there.
Andy, appreciate jumping on Wednesday. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, all right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Josh Hennick here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up next, Mets Brewers Game 2. The Detroit Tigers have already punched their ticket to the next round of the Major League Baseball postseason as they got by the Astros 2-0. Will the Mets do the same? Will Iglesias get another hit and keep Mike Gill's winning streak with Iglesias on his bets? Will the Mets advance to the next round and take out Rhys Hoskins and the Brewers? Find out next on 97.3 ESPN FM and also on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. All postseason baseball, you can stream it on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. And thank you to Dave Weinberg, Andy McNamara, and shout out to Biz from Abseekin, Dan from EHC for texting in. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN.
You have the choice, whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique. Those choices help to put money back into your community. Town Square Media South Jersey proudly puts a spotlight on local businesses.
Broadlee's, your trusted source for heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907 or visit broadleys.net. Manhattan Bagel. Looking for a quick snack or a full meal? Easy to use menu, customize how you'd like, place your order and sit back. ManhattanBagel.com has you covered. Start fresh, fast, order online for pickup and delivery. And Kindle Auto Plaza, the area's best selection of Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Wagoneer. Off exit 10 on the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard. Call 609-465-5000 or KindleAutoplaza.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media South Jersey.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective. A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave